Good morning. My name is Sean Dunster, and I am with Ministry Brands Church Streaming, and I welcome you this morning to this week's webinar, where we're going to be talking about how to set up a streaming event. And we're just going to walk through the procedure of making sure that you set up an event properly to make sure that it streams out the way you want. So we'll get started here in just a minute. We want to allow enough time for anybody else to join. And so please be patient. I'm going to give it just a couple minutes here. Okay, going to give it one more minute, just give time for people to join. If you've just joined us, my name is Sean Dunster, and I'm the Operations Manager for Ministry Brands Church Streaming. And I welcome you to this week's webinar. And this week we will be focusing on setting up a streaming event. This is really focusing on the key difference from the old platform to the new platform. And if you haven't experienced the old platform and just are on the new platform, this will make perfect sense to you. From the old platform, though, it is quite a change from the way that you were able to stream before. So we want to make sure people feel comfortable and know the steps necessary to make sure that they can stream successfully. So we'll get one more minute. I don't want to waste your time this morning. I want to be respectful of that. So I know everybody's busy. So instead, I'm just going to give one more minute to see if anybody else joins in. If not, we'll dive right into it. I'm joined this morning by Cameron Kemp. Cameron is one of the technical support techs agents for Church Streaming. And if you call into support, I shouldn't say call in for, if you contact support, submitting a request in there for any help, Cameron may be one of the people that responds to your request. So he'll be here answering your questions. If you have a question, at the bottom of the screen, there is a Q&A icon. So use that Q&A icon and please post your questions there. Cameron will be looking for your questions and will respond in the Q&A. So if you do have a question, he'll just put it in the Q&A. I would prefer that than the chat. The chat doesn't allow anybody else to see the questions. So it's nice if other people can see a question that you ask, because it may be something that they would also like to know about. So if you could put it in there, that'd be great. And we're going to go ahead and get started. For those of you just joined, my name is Sean Dunster, and I'm the Operations Manager for Church Streaming in Ministry Brands. And I'm joined by Cameron Kemp, who is one of our technical support agents on the platform. And we're going to be talking about setting up a streaming event. So just a quick overview. And the main difference between the old streaming platform and the platform that we are now is that you do need to have an event established before you can stream out. Where the old platform, the streaming channel was just always running 24/7, basically. It was always available for you to start a stream whenever you wanted to. That did cause a lot of infrastructure problems and stability problems, which is one of the main reasons why we moved off of that platform, because it was causing issues as more and more people jumped onto it. Think of it this way. If you've ever been in a situation with the internet, and if you're the only person on the internet, everything works fine. And then the more people that jump onto it, that internet starts to slow down and get bogged down and has all kinds of issues. It's kind of the same thing the way their old streaming platform was built. was that the streaming channel was always going and always on. And if you were the only one on it, that was no big deal. But the more people that came on and started using it and trying to take advantage of using the streaming channel, even though everybody had their own channel, the infrastructure of it just made it slow down, made it more problematic. So that's why one of the reasons we shifted away from that, just so that everybody could try to have a good streaming experience. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here. And Cameron, just let me know if you don't see my screen. But okay, so here is which is the most common view, which is the dashboard. And let me put this over here so I can take a look at it. So this is your main dashboard for your streaming account. So when you log in, you should see your name up here, your church name, and your church ID in the upper left. So be looking for that because if you ever call into, keep saying that, if you ever contact support and need some help, they're going to want to know what your ID is, your site ID, because there are a lot of churches that have the same name or very similar names. And so it's harder to look up your account just by the name. But if you have your email address and site ID is a big one, because that's unique to you, then that's going to be key. So up in the upper left, you on your main dashboard, you should see the church name and then your site ID. Then if we're talking about starting an event, you can see right now, I don't have an event scheduled. And the reason I can tell that is because I do not see anything listed here information-wise, either a countdown or anything listed right here on the left-hand side of my viewer window. Next event. And it says schedule your first event. That actually, we're going to change that because it's not, I've already scheduled events, so it's not my first event. It should say schedule an event. And if you click on that, that'll take you to the scheduling page. So there are some quick links in here that'll help you with that. Create a streaming event, schedule your first event. You can use both those and that'll take you to the page that you need. The other way that you can do it is very easy. Go over here to streaming on the left-hand side and I can open that up and click events. And if I click events, it'll take me to the events page. Right now, I don't have anything listed. And then I can add new streaming. So that's the 3 ways that you can get into the event from the main dashboard when you log in. And so if I wanted to do this quickly, and again, I don't have an event scheduled, so nothing is showing up here. My rotator is playing because that's what I've already got programmed in there. So I want to create a streaming event. So it's just a quick link, create the streaming event. Now, let me back up just a minute because this is important. And we've talked about this before, but it is really critical to make sure that your account is set up properly. So by that, I mean, if you go into your account, you can get into your account a couple of ways. You can go into your account through your people and your members, or you can go into here and look at account. And when I go up here to the icon, the little gear icon, and I click account, I want to open up and I want to make sure that all my information. So here is my, this is the name I chose, the fantastic new CS Church Streaming demo. So this is my account name. And then it gives me my email address and whatever address I have for my church. And then this is the critical one, time zone. You want to make sure that your time zone is set correctly because everything on your streaming event is based off of your time zone. That's unlike the old platform. The old platform, because it was always on, it wasn't schedule based. Well, now the new platform is scheduled based. So you have to make sure that your time zone is set correctly because we have had clients who, when they schedule an event and it didn't happen when they were supposed to, and it even happened to me when we first started working through the platform, is I didn't have this set up correctly. I had it set up for the Pacific time zone. So all my events were starting later, and I was trying to think out what did I do wrong, and I just didn't have the time zone set. So wherever you are in your time zone, just click on that, and you've got all these different time zones. Really, there's only the 4 time zones that you pretty much have to worry about. So Eastern Standard Time, Central, Mountain, and then Pacific. Now we have some international clients, absolutely. You look for the right time zone for you, but make sure that is set up correctly. And then if you have a default Bible translation, here's also where you can set up to have your sermon cloud. You want a sermon cloud and a Bible cloud account. So those are just some things, just on your basic setup for your account. So I just want to make sure this one is set up correctly for scheduling an event. Okay, so that's set. Let's go back to my dashboard here. And then I want to get into creating a streaming event. So I'm going to go back up here to my quick links and say I'm going to create a streaming event. All right. If you are trying to schedule something very quickly and you want to say, look, I just need to get it going within, I need to spend no more than 3-4 minutes to set up the event. And we always recommend you give yourself at least 15 minutes before an event start time that you schedule something. And the reason for that is the system needs to make all the different connections to the different areas that you want to distribute your stream. So if you say it is now 10 after the hour, and I wanted to start a stream at 15 after the hour, that's less than 5 minutes. It's going to be a problem because then maybe not all those connections are going to be made to send your stream to social media and to other places. So you want to give yourself about 15 minutes before an event start time that you schedule something. So quick details. You have to have a title. So I'm going to put in, this is my new streaming, and spell a little better. This is my new streaming test. Now, you can choose any of these things to add in information on it, but you don't need to start a streaming event. You really don't need to. If you just need to get this set up quickly, you can just do this right here. But if I wanted to set up a preacher and assign a preacher to this, I have not got any preacher set up at this point, but preacher, pastor, minister, right now we just have it as preacher, but again, in terms of who's giving the message or who's speaking, you can add them in here just by adding new. Series, if this is part of a series, I had one series that I had in here called Financial Awareness. You can add this as part of a series. That is more for filtering and searching later, that you can group all your search together. But again, you don't need to have that set up right now for starting an event. Categories, location, same thing. You really don't need to have any of that set up to do an event. So I have the address here of the church address, but I don't need to put that in there. So right now, this is the only thing I need to have in here. And then this is the other critical thing that I need to have in here is the date. So today's the 20th, but I can choose whatever day, but I want to say the 20th. And it says 1 o'clock, and I'm on Eastern time. So I want to set, since I said 15 minutes, I want to put it for 11:30. So let's go 11:30. And we are changing this clock interface, so it's much better, so you don't have to do as many clicks. That is being changed. All right, so 11:30 a.m., I'm making sure that's in there, and it defaults automatically to give you a full hour. You can change this, but once you choose your one time, it will default automatically to give you an hour, okay? Passages, I don't need to add passages in here right now. So passages, if I wanted to add a Bible passage, I can do that here. I can choose the passage that I want, the book, the translation. But again, to start a stream, I don't need to do that. SEO and social. I want to put things in here that'll be searchable, keywords. Again, but I don't need to do that if I want to set it. I'm just showing you how to set this up quickly. And I can go back through and show you some of the other things on here. So SEO and social. I hit save and next. So I've just got the title and the time, basically, is what I'm doing this. Now, this is the other critical. Is it going to be a live stream or is it going to be a simulated live? The simulated live is something that you have uploaded into the system, a media file, and it's going to play back at the designated time. That's the simulated live. But I say, maybe I want it to be live. Okay, I'm going to be live. Do I want anything to precede it? Offline loop video or my rotator? I'm just going to keep my rotator up. Do I want a pre-roll? Do I want a post-roll? Any additional media, images, documents? I can choose those, but again, it's not critical for setting this up quickly. So I've got live. I know I want that. Additional content. If I want to put additional content in it, is to give, if I wanted to put in, this is a message on how to set up the streaming channel. Okay, that can be additional content, but it's not critical. I don't need that in here right now to set up a stream. Save and next. This last page is really, really important, how you follow. Okay, save to sermon archives. If you want to save it to the sermon archives where it would be available up in your content up in here, you can save it there. Yes, save it to sermon archives, and then in a draft mode or in a publish mode. Draft mode just means that it's going to put it there, but it's going to be in a draft. So you can go back and you can change some things, some wording, some other stuff, edit some text, or you can publish it right away and say, I just want to publish it. That's good. Then where do I want to send it to? Facebook. And then I've got a custom in there. So if I have YouTube in here as well, so I have 2 different Facebook channels in here that I've set up. But if I wanted to have here in this Facebook, it wants to know which channel I want to have to. I'm going to send it to my church. This is where you want to select that in here. In your defaults, you would be setting up in your defaults, and that's in your settings. But if you have to choose, you've got 2 Facebook pages, part of the API, you can choose there. And then I've got a custom set up here. If you have YouTube, it would be here as well. So that's where you would choose at this event, this channel, if you want to send it. If I didn't want to send this test to Facebook or that, I just turn those off. But they're going to default on. So I am turning those off right now because I don't want to send this test to my social media pages. Then over here, I want to make sure this is set to publish. I'm going to show you real quick. So right here, I'm going to keep it at draft, save and done. Okay, I've got it to draft, save and done. Here is my event right here, right? It shows me on the right-hand side, though, that it's set to draft, okay? And it's a live broadcast. It's going to be public. Here's the name. If I go back to my dashboard, remember what I said, that if you don't see this on your dashboard, you know you have no event coming up? I'm looking at my dashboard. It's not showing a countdown. It's not showing what my next event is. So that tells me right away, if I'm not seeing anything here, something's wrong. Something's not set up properly on that. So I need to go back to my events. So streaming and events. I'll go back here. And I'm looking here. It's like, oh, okay, it was set to draft. So I want to go back into my streaming event. There you go. And all this information's here, but I want to go back over here to publish because I know it was set to draft. I just want to click on this publish over here and go to this, and I want to change this to publish. Okay, so I'm going to be a little tight there. I said 11:30, and it's going to be pushing it. So I'm going to be a little bit under that 15-minute mark, but I'm just for the purposes of this demonstration, I want to show this to you. Okay, so now I've saved this. And if I go back into my dashboard, what I am going to see then, as my page refreshes and as things get ready to go. So now it's starting to make those connections, and it's starting to populate what needs to be. So I'm going to have to refresh this one more time just to make sure that it's going to show up, because then my countdown will show up here in the top of this. Let's see here. I want to make sure that I did set the publish, I think.
Sometimes it does take a couple of minutes, Sean, for it to populate. So,
yep. So I did set the publish. I want to make sure I did that. Okay. So I'm going to wait. Try it one more time. And I did kind of do it kind of quick. There we go. There it is on there now. So this is my new streaming test, and here's the countdown. It's showing 10 minutes, 37 seconds. So there we go. This is now telling me that I've got a stream starting in 10 minutes. This is not what's showing up or what is being seen by your congregants or other viewers. This is just for your purposes on the dashboard to see. Now look down here. This is where that extra content came in that I wrote down there. This is the message on how to set up the streaming channel. So that's how easy it was for me to set up a streaming event quickly. Now, I did talk through several steps in here that really slowed down my process, but I could have set that up very, very quickly just to get a stream going. And it didn't take a lot of time. So I think this is something where, I'm going to go back through here and I'm going to show you some of the other things in here and setting up an event. And Greg, you did ask a question, what's the best practice to test a stream ahead of time? Okay. I would say the best way to test a stream is to do exactly what I just did here. So if I was going to test to make sure that my streaming channel was working, I would do this. I would set up a quick test event and set it here, and I wouldn't push it necessarily to my social media pages unless I wanted to make sure things were pushing out properly. But I would just create a test event, call it a test event, and set it up. We do not currently have a way to make stream events private. So when you do a test event, it will push out to your different channels that you have. It'll push out to your embeds, and it'll push out to your Sermon Cloud a page, and it'll push out to your social media if you've selected that. So, but that is the way to test something like this and to make sure it's working. So I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to show you again some of the things when we're setting up an event. And we talked about, going in here and hitting events here. One thing that we didn't hit on is like the settings. So when I talked about like the default settings are what you set up as your main settings for your overall streaming page. This is where I set up my rotator. And this is going to be another session that we're going to get into because it's a much deeper session about how to set up the rotators, what you do with the rotator, how do you set up a video loop, how do you do the pre-roll, post-roll, things like that. So that's something that we can get into, but it's really not enough time this morning. But here is where I've set up my push broadcast in my Facebook, and where I've got my custom setup. See, I have the custom configuration set up, and then you saw that. These are the defaults that were set up on my page at a time that allowed me to make those selections when I did the social media aspect of my stream. Those were set up there. So that's just to give you an idea of where, and we will do another session to really go through the whole settings, because that's its own session in itself. So if I'm going into streaming and events, and I'm going to set up an event again. And this time I'm going to, while this one is getting ready to go here in 8 minutes, one thing I want to take a look at real quick is this event is getting ready to kick off in 8 minutes. It already has started my channel online. Up here in the upper right, as you can see, my channel now is showing online. Before, it was showing offline. Usually within 7 to 8 minutes of a scheduled event, your channel will turn on. And what that means is it's not streaming out to your embeds or anything else. So you don't have to worry about what you're feeding into your encoder, because it was when this channel comes online, that's when you can start feeding from your encoder. That's when you can turn on your encoder. Whether you have a Wirecast OBS or something like that, that's when you can connect that. So that's gone online. That's when you can connect, but it's not feeding out to your audience at that time. It doesn't start feeding out from your encoder until this reaches 0. Right now, this is what everybody is seeing. If they're looking at my channel, they're looking at my rotator. They're not seeing anything else that's going out there. So if I'm going into streaming and creating an event, what we do is I'm going to add new streaming. Okay, so here is a brand new test of the stream. That's my event. The preacher, I'm going to add a new preacher in here. I'm going to give it my name. Okay, so I've added a preacher in there. Is this the same person? You asked me. Yes. Yes, this is the same person. Okay, so I'm the preacher. Series, if I want it to be part of my financial awareness series, or if I want a new series. The series is streaming test. There we go. And then if I want the location, I'm going to put my church in there. Keywords, streaming, church, video, and if I can put my, I'll put my name. You put whatever key information in there that would be good to have. Okay, the time again, I'm just going to leave it at 1 o'clock since it defaulted to that. That's fine. All right, there's my time. Add passages. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, yeah, ESG is fine. And I'm going to go, let's go, the Psalms are good. Okay. Okay, so chapter 5, verse 3. Lord, in the morning, you hear your voice in the morning, prepare a sacrifice for you to watch. Okay, chapter 5, verse 7. There we go. There we go. So that is going to be my the Bible verse that I'll be preaching on, and it'll be part of the message. And you can add a different passage in there as well, in addition. Now, the SEO and social is a little bit different than the keywords here. Keywords is for your searching for your event, if you wanted to find some things. This is for your SEO and social. SEO, search engine optimization. So search engines like Google or Bing or other ones, where if somebody wanted to search your church, you could put information in here that would make it searchable. So again, I can use the same words that were up above, but I want to put in, again, I want to put church. What my message is the Psalms. Spell correctly. I'm going to do Sean Dunster. Streaming. Okay. So say those are my keywords. Save and next. Then I'm going to go in here to my next page. Okay, live and simulated live. Again, the difference between live, simulated live is what you're going to be feeding out of your encoder at the actual time of the event. It's going to be what's happening live. Many churches, especially during COVID, would pre-record their services and upload them because a lot of people weren't going into the church, and so they could pre-record things ahead of time, edit it together the way they wanted to, and then upload it, and then set it to play out at the certain times. That's what the simulated live is. So, and then here, if you chose simulated live, you would just go in here and you could pick where the video is. And this is a video that you have uploaded. So it would appear in that menu. Again, I'm going to make it live. Do I want an offline loop or do I want nature? This time I can choose an offline loop. There's the offline loop video that I've chosen. Yeah, so it's in there. Nature, and I'm not going to choose that one. Okay. So I'm not going to have anything in rotator. I'm not going to have a pre-roll or post-roll. I don't need any other documents right now or an image. Additional content. This message is on the Psalms and seeing God in the morning. Okay. Save and next. Okay. Do I want to save this to Sermon Archives? Yes. And I want to publish it right away. If I want to do publish as featured, that means it's basically going to bring it to the top, and it's going to be the one that. So if you have an Easter service and you wanted to make that the featured service for the next several weeks that you had, it would pin it basically to the top, make it a featured service that people would see. Right now, I'm just going to publish it, and I'm going to send it to my Facebook and the custom push that I have set up. It'll ask me. So here I choose, because I have more than one Facebook channel selected or set up, which one do I want? And I'm going to go to my church, and then site group is fine. That you don't have to worry about that. And then set to publish. Save and done. So that's how I've set up that streaming event with a lot more information. Now this event, if I go back to my dashboard, this event hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen here in the next minute. So when that happens, here we go, 17 seconds. Now you'll see this switch over, but since I have no video feeding into it, nothing going into it, it's just going to show up as a black screen because I have nothing when it starts. But you'll see this switch over here. Here we go. Okay. So it will come up first with what is Here's my offline loop that just plays right now, and then it'll switch over to black. So the information that you have here, I told you about that. Underneath though here, if I had any viewers at all, it would show up at all. So as people started to watch, you would see some analytics show up here, and then locations here. If you, I can't zoom out right now because there's nobody watching internationally, but if there was people watching internationally, I could zoom out and take a look and see where else people are watching. I can zoom in on the US, but right now it's set default to the United States. So the real-time analytics, and the real-time analytics, they are real time. As people are watching, it will pop up here. Now nobody's watching my feed, obviously, but now it says West Virginia. I live in Virginia, so it's probably picking that up. It's because I'm right there on the border. So it's probably picking up where my internet is connected through. But yeah, this is my signal, one viewer, and it's showing me on a Windows computer, which is my computer. So that's showing me what it is right now. So as that is going on, all right, and that's on my dashboard, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop this event because I really don't need to have this going since I have nothing feeding to it. Okay, I'm going to stop the stream now. It's going to halt that. And now it immediately then defaults over to the next stream. This is the stream that we got started at 1 p.m. Eastern. This is now showing the countdown to that. So it automatically switched over. Once we started the other stream, it switched over to this one. And the analytics went away because I don't have an event going on. But this is the message. This shows the passage, the Psalms. And this is the content that I put in there. So that's how you set up a streaming event. On this other event that you just saw, so it'll show up still here in this panel. Okay, this is the one we just got done that I ended early, and you can see the time changed from what I had set it up to. Since I only did 1 minute, because I stopped it early, it automatically changed this time to show the actual duration. And it showed it was a live event. The analytics will populate after the event is done, and it calculates all the information. It'll show up right here. So it'll show you how many views, and then you could pop this up here. And when this icon here, when they have data there, it'll pop up a pop-up window, and it'll give you more information. And then you can also export off that information. So this is the event that was just finished. It changed the time. This is the event that's coming up next. And it's showing it right here on the dashboard with the countdown. So that is, in a nutshell, how you set up a streaming event, just to make sure what is published, what is live, what is simulated live, what you have playing in here. We're going to have another webinar that we're going to talk about all the settings that we talked about here. So how to set up, if you want to have an offline loop like this one is. This is my offline loop that's playing on my channel until my event starts, or how I set up a rotator, or how I want to set up a pre-roll, post-roll. So those are the things we'll get into when we get into a whole setting session, because that can take up more than a half hour. It's really can get really involved. But hopefully this has helped you understand how to simply and quickly set up a streaming event. And I can go through here and I can set up a bunch of events. I can set up a whole week's worth in here. And I can always come back in here. If I need to edit some information on this one, I can edit information. If I go up here into my content and I look at what I have in here. So in here, because the event is not done yet processing, it will populate up in here in my sermons because I had that set to publish, but it hasn't done it yet because my stream hasn't finished processing yet. So once that's done processing, it'll show up there. Cameron, is there anything that I failed to touch on here for the setting up a streaming event?
I don't think so. I mean, there is one small thing when it comes to your settings real quick. If you went in and updated your settings under the general settings for like adding a pre-roll or a post-roll or anything like that, that's only going to be that's your default settings for any time you create a new event. It's not going to update any events that you currently have created. I've had a couple of tickets the past couple of weeks that people have done that. So just note that if you add any information here on this page, it's only going to affect any new events that you create. If you need to go in and make sure that your old events that you've already created have that information, just make sure you go in and just edit the event real quick to add that.
That's a great point. So yes, if you change anything here as your defaults, if you do anything with the rotators or anything else, you want to make sure then if you want those to apply to an event that you have upcoming, you want to go into that individual event and then edit that event as well, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, yeah, I've taken you 5 minutes past, and I apologize for that. So hopefully this was helpful and give you a little bit more insight into this. On your dashboard, main dashboard, if you have something that you need to talk to support about, and you have questions, need some help with getting something set up, right here. If you go under, again, where if you saw where it's on support info and system status, you can see support request form right there. And you can click on that, and that will open up a form that you can write out what the information is that you need, what do you need help with, and that'll go right to our support team. Real quick, as you can see up here in the upper right corner, my channel now has gone offline because my streaming event has stopped, and it's now an hour and 23 minutes before my next event. So now my channel is offline. As you saw before, it will go online about 7 minutes before the event start time. Again, doesn't mean it's pushing out the stream. It means that it is doing all the integrations on the back end and is getting your channel ready for the streaming event. So good key things to look for. Contact us if you have any other questions. Contact us if you need some more help. I will send out this link with a recording so you have that, and then we will have another one of these next Thursday. And that's what I'm going to follow up with this one with going over the whole settings page. So until next week, I really appreciate the time. It's been great having you here with us this morning. And if there's anything that you need, please don't hesitate to contact us. We're always here to help.